Hi, it's me, Marcia. Um, I want to talk about my final paper entitled In Presence of an Absence, Negation as a Means of Revisionist History in Kincaid's Autobiography of My Mother. In this paper, I hope to explore the relationship between Suella and her mother and the ways in which Suella begins to identify the narrative of her mother as the narrative of her own, and therein embodies the narrative of the colonized. And in doing so, lives within a continued non-existence or continued death. And I'm going to explore the ways in which, while she is capable of creating a third space, or as Baba defines it, a unique and individual identity, she's incapable of achieving agency because agency is something granted from an external source rather than an internal one. And through this act, she is never fully capable of having recognized agency. I'm going to explore this inability to have agency through her relationship with each of the individuals in her life and how they express her identity as one being fully affiliated with death. Death serving here as the universal which ties her to a type of or form of agency, but one which cannot be expressed other than in the act of dying. Firstly, I will look at the relationship between Suella and her mother to establish what paints her as a victim and how idealization and death lead to dissatisfaction and ultimately emptiness. Next, we will look at her ties to her father and show how her father, who is not in her life, is also idolized, but loses that idealization as soon as he becomes reality. We will see in this particular strange relationship the problems between the colonizer and the colonized. Further, we will look at her brothers, who present an image of the masculine, a natural portrait of the limitations of her freedom. We will also examine her sexual partners, who place into question her womanhood and her relationship with love, which she finds herself, like herself, undefinable, as well as her desire for independence above all else. Next, we will look at her strange attachment to her adoptive mothers and try to understand why and how her attachment to these women is so strong and whether it is embedded with hatred or love, or as in the majority of cases, with a defiant understanding that this loss or loss of her mother can never fully be filled, and therein she is forced to take on the role of her mother. Finally, we will conclude by outlining her relationship with the community, which comes to an apex at the end of the novel, with her identification of death as a means of relating to others and constructing agency.